A survey that polled more than 2,000 American men in relationships determined that 59% of them said that they did not believe that their partner had good taste in shoes, and that the least attractive footwear were wedges by an overwhelming 71%. They even deemed wedges uglier than Uggs and Crocs. I am so interested to know where that sample originated from. Whether you love them or hate them, wedges are a staple of many a wardrobe. I feel like wedges can be quite polarizing. If you like them, you like them, but if you hate them, you really hate them. So where did wedges or platform shoes come from? A variation of the platform shoe has been present for thousands of years, and as with most things, it originated with the ancient Greeks. If you don't know where something originated in history, just say ancient Greece. 7 out of 10 times you'll probably get it right. Ancient Greeks used a variation of the platform shoe to prevent their clothing from getting muddy. They were also used in performances to make the actor seem more imposing. Some courtesans even had messages carved on the underside of the sole, essentially advertising through their footprints. Love that level of ingenuity. In Renaissance era Venice and Spain, tall platform shoes took on new meaning. Known as chapines, chopines, or pianelle, these shoes turned into a symbol of wealth and grandeur. At first, they were created for the same reason the Greeks and other ancient civilizations used them: to keep clothing clean from the muck on the ground. Venetian sumptuary laws, which are laws to make sure peasants and middle-class citizens could be distinguished from the gentry or nobility, had yet regulated shoe glamour or height, so merchants with money went all out. Especially tall chopines created a level of instability to the wearer's gait, thus they would need to be accompanied by a servant whom they would use to balance. This showed that a person came from a wealthy household and could splurge on an attendant who was essentially used as a walking cane. Of course, like most great things in life, someone had to go and make a 20-inch chopine and ruin it for everyone. Thus, sumptuary laws were kind of forced to regulate the height of footwear. Although there is still mystery surrounding their exact symbolism and who exactly wore these shoes. The elaborate dress of the respectable Venetian noblewoman was almost indistinguishable from the dress of the successful courtesan. So perplexing that sumptuary laws were put in place to establish the boundary and even banned courtesans from wearing silk dresses and almost all jewelry. I personally love wedges for their elevated casual appearance and how easy it is to walk in them. So the fact that it took almost 400 years to make their way back into wardrobes is shocking and a little bit sad. So how did modern wedges come to be? As with many innovations of the mid-20th century, the answer is World War II. Every Western designer had to work around shortages and create new modes of dress. Some started using fabric derived from milk solids, and when it rained, it smelled like cheese, and others decided to close shop altogether. I'm looking at you, Chanel. Italian shoe designer Salvatore Ferragamo was no exception. Ferragamo could no longer afford to purchase steel for the shank, which is the metal support for the arch of a high-heeled shoe. Due to economic sanctions against Italy, he worked around shortages by designing footwear using substitute materials. He began experimenting with pieces of Sardinian cork, and beginning in 1936, cork and wood wedge and platform soles were paired with a variety of upper materials, including twisted and woven cellophane, raffia, and even reeds. However, cork was the perfect material because it was durable and lightweight. During World War II, the Axis powers became extremely nationalist, obviously, and looked back on past achievements for inspiration. Germany began to reintroduce traditional garments into popular culture. Given that Ferragamo was influenced by the fascist glorification of Italy's history, he took inspiration from the Renaissance era chopine. So fascism indeed had a hand in creating the modern wedge. But Ferragamo was equally influenced by the Italian futurists. Predating the rise of fascism, but fitting in perfectly with the concern for national identity and national ideals, the futurist movement sought inspiration from the green, white, and red colors of the Italian flag. And they spoke out against somber-colored clothing and shoes. In 1933, they declared, quote, "We condemn the Nordic use of black and neutral colors that give the wet, snowy, foggy streets of the city the appearance of stagnant, muddy, melancholy color. We need color to compete with the Italian sun," end quote. Ferragamo took inspiration from this and loved using vibrant colors. He had immediate success with models such as the rainbow multicolored suede shoe made for Judy Garland and the platform sandals covered in pieces of gilded reflective glass designed for singer Carmen Miranda. These are now iconic pieces of fashion history. If you even have a modicum of interest in fashion history, you've probably seen this shoe. And did you know that Ferragamo still sells the rainbow shoe on their website? If I ever win the lottery, I am definitely buying myself a pair. So Ferragamo used his own contacts to arrange for the export of his shoes to important department stores in the US and Europe, of course until the escalation of the war made exports impossible. Wedges were especially popular in the summer season in national markets as well as abroad. Women of the 1940s loved wedges for their sensibility and how easy they were to walk in. Queen Elizabeth even wore a pair after her wedding in 1947. Wedges were great because they were much more durable than their heeled counterparts. They lasted longer and needed less frequent repairs, given that there wasn't a vulnerable piece just sticking out like a heel would. This fit in perfectly with the austerity restrictions and rationing of the war. In Britain and America, restrictions meant that they couldn't be more than 2 inches, which makes perfect sense if you're walking around a factory or hospital all day. Beginning in February of 1943, leather shoes were limited to 3 pairs per person, so ration-free cork and wooden wedges really saved the day for people who wanted more than just 3 pairs of shoes in their wardrobe. So the popularity of wedges kind of fell off in the 1950s and 1960s. They were probably seen as a classic wartime staple, and maybe people kind of wanted to cut that memory. But the 1970s saw a massive resurgence in the wedge in even brighter and bolder colors and designs. These shoes melded perfectly with the disco and new glam rock scene. 1970s wedges and platform shoes were also much taller than their 1940s counterparts. Wedges stayed relatively popular throughout the 80s and then boomed once again in the 90s with the advent of wedge sneakers, aka Buffalo style sneakers, and the Spice Girls celebrity endorsement of tall platform shoes. I think wedges keep coming back into the cultural zeitgeist due to their comfortability and ease of balance while giving kind of a more dressed up appearance than sneakers. Wedges are great for strolls in the park, mid-afternoon picnics, outdoor weddings, but not as appropriate for more formal events. But I feel like society gets less and less formal as the years go by, so this kind of makes wedges more useful in people's wardrobes. I definitely don't think that wedges should be defined by their conception, but it's always interesting to discover how an item gets its start, and it just so happens that wedges have a particularly unique story. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, and other than that, have a lovely day. Bye.